focus on what your body can do and not how it looks like. And try to be confident in your own skin.
Let's go!
Hello, Kristin. Welcome to Fika with Rice. I love how inspirational CrossFit is and have rewatched all the Netflix documentaries from the games. It's just so amazing. And we normally start each episode with some rapid fire questions. It goes like this. I'll make a statement and then you finish the sentence. Does that make sense?
Yes, I'll try my best.
If I could go back to my 20-year-old self, I would
tell myself that everything is going to be okay in the end.
The biggest mistake I made when I was 20-something was...
I believe that I was good enough.
Why do you think you had that lack of self-belief?
It's hard to say, but I always felt that everyone else was so much better than me. I never underestimated anyone. And I think I just focused too much on what everyone else could do instead of focusing on what I can do. And I think when I got older and started to do mental training, I was able to believe in myself a lot more and shifted the focus towards me and myself and my abilities. And that made everything so much better.
When did you get into mental training? Because I know when I was young, I know mental training was sort of like taboo, at least in Sweden. At what age did you get into mental training? What does that entail for those listening that they don't know what that is?
My mental coach approached me when I was in the beginning of my CrossFit career. So when I was 26, 27 years old, that's when he approached me and wanted to start working with me. That was the beginning, and I didn't really think that I needed it. I thought like I knew how to breathe. I knew how to think. I did not do that, but I thought I did. So I was a little hesitant, but I'm just so happy that I gave it a shot. And that's probably the best thing that have ever happened to me, and especially my athletic career.
Just to get back to the rapid fired ones, Kristin.
Yeah.
What do you think is the most common mistake 20-year-olds do today?
I think trusting in themselves and dare to believe in themselves and their goals, and not just go with the flow with everyone else, and also trying to be liked by everyone else. The most important thing is to like yourself.
I work with a lot of young people. I witnessed that too. But there's something unique with this young generation right now. Why do you think 20-year-olds specifically today, they deal with like this problem? Like, hey, like if I do this, will other people like me? Or if I wear this, will other people like me? Or if I look like this, would other people like me? Why do you think they have these thoughts rather than like, hey, I feel good this way, or I wear this, like it makes me happy?
I think social media probably has a big say in this with all the likes, and you can see influencers that get paid from how many likes they get and how popular they are on social media. I think that's a big part of it. It might have been the same years ago, but it feels like it's just getting a bigger problem now with social media, and everyone is online all the time. Mm-hmm. So there's kind of nowhere to hide.
The best advice I received from my mother was,
work hard to reach your goals.
Do you remember at what age she told you that?
This is coming basically from my whole family, not just my mother, but my father and my grandma and my granddad. I don't know if they've ever actually told me this. I've just witnessed it. Growing up, I always saw them working really hard, them having goals for themselves. Growing up with a dad that was a professional skier. My mom was in gymnastics. My grandma was a gymnastic coach, and we worked towards goals, and I just saw that they put everything they had into reaching their goals, and witnessing that has made me realize, okay, if I want to achieve something, I need to work really hard to be able to do that.
How was it to grow up with two parents who were elite athletes? Like, was it like super disciplined at home, very healthy food, everything was in a routine? I would love to like hear.
Well, actually, my mom, she wasn't active. When I grew up, she was just coaching and judging in gymnastics. My dad stopped when I was about 4. So I don't really remember a lot of that, but he was still training a lot. So I just remember every time we would go out on hikes or going out on to ski, it was all about being as fast as possible from A to B, because he wanted to get his workout in. But we were like small kids, so we couldn't move that fast. So then we were hanging behind from his poles, and then he could like skate, and we were skiing fast behind him by just grabbing to his poles, and everyone was happy because we just get to go fast without actually having to ski fast, and he got his training in. And my mom, I don't know if she was happy, but she got her little family trip done, and then it was fine. But I just remember, like, I never liked cross-country skiing because I think I had that experience that it had to be done really fast, and it was all about training and not pleasure.
It's a lot of pain in cross-country skiing. It's a lot of pain. Basically, the
It
one
is.
who can take the most amount of pain wins, you know? Growing up with your parents so competitive, or were very competitive, how did that affect you when it came to schoolwork, physical education class, sports that you did when you were young? Were you taught like, hey, Kristin, like, you need to be doing your best, you need to be winning, like, it's all about you need to be winning, it's all about the medals? Or how were the discussions back home at the kitchen table? Let's say you came home and you were like 8th place.
Yeah. I've always been very disciplined myself, in both school and in training and everything. I don't think my parents have ever had to force me to do anything, because I've done my homework. I've always loved to train, and I've always loved all kinds of sports. So whenever I could spend a lot of hours at the gym, training, like gymnastics or track and field, I was just super happy and I loved it. And it's never been any pressure for me to perform at all. I think that pressure has always come from myself. And I grew up being very competitive. My dad is super competitive. He just hates to lose. And I think I got a little bit of that, because whenever we've done anything that has something to do with the competition, we all want to win, especially me and my dad. And whoever loses, it's not good. We don't take that very well. So it's always been a competition, and I've always wanted to win whatever I do. But it's just been good pressure from myself mostly, especially when I was a kid. When I got a little older, it was probably a little too serious. I was just super into my training, and at competitions, my parents wasn't even able to speak to me for like the last hours before the competition. I was so focused, and I didn't want any interruption from them in my little bubble. So I was just sitting quietly and being very serious. And to be honest, it wasn't even really that fun, because I think I took it too serious. I was just super scared to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And I focused more about not losing than the focus that I actually wanted to do well and to try to win.
So I trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like not professionally or anything, but sometimes when I'm sparring, it's like a new person. I have that feeling too. Like, I'm more scared to lose rather than the desire to win. How do you deal with those emotions?
In my late 20s and 30s, I've worked a lot on that, and I've been able to shift my focus over to my performance and my effort instead of what placement I want to get. So being okay with losing is necessary to be able to focus on winning. So dare to lose so you can actually be able to win. That's something I've been working on. And the thing is there that I needed to focus on how I could perform my absolute best. because that's the only thing I can control. I cannot control what other athletes are doing. And for me, I'm not doing a contact sport, so I'm not competing directly with someone. We are on the same field, but we're in our lane. So as long as I can do my absolute best and give my 100% effort, I will get the placement that I deserve. And if that's not the first place, and I gave it my all, I should and have to be okay with that.
That's a good wisdom. The best advice I received from my first boss was?
Probably be on time.
Ah, okay. So you were somebody who arrived late, or?
Not necessarily. My mom was always late, so
okay.
I was like frustrated because I didn't want to get late to practice, to gymnastics, but she was late from work and she had to drive me, and I was always like, oh, I don't want to be that person who always is late. Yeah. So, and I think it was one time I was late at work and I felt so bad, and I think my boss just said, don't be late.
Yeah, no, it's a good wisdom. Some really good lesson, you know. I know we take it for granted in Norway and Sweden, but I know there's a lot of countries where
you should respect
late all the time.
Yeah, you should respect others' time, because if you're late, that means someone has to wait for you, and that's not
I agree
respectful.
With you. Yeah, 100%. My advice to 18-year-olds out there:
trust that everything is going to be okay in the end, because that was a rough year for me, being 18. I was in school and I did had a lot of sports in school, and then in the second year I got injured. I had a stress fracture in my shin, so I had a lot of sports at school. My goal was to be a world champion in pole vault, and now I was injured and I wasn't able to do any of that. And as an 18-year-old, that I felt like my identity was sports, and now I couldn't do any of that. That was rough, but it all worked out in the end. It just took a really long time.
How did you get into CrossFit? Because I know that your mother, you're saying, was a professional gymnastic, and you did pole vault when you were young, but how did you get into CrossFit per se?
It was actually kind of random. I heard about CrossFit around 2010, but then I had to quit track and field because of my injuries. I had stress fractures in both of my shins, so I just realized that was not for me. Okay. And then I got into endurance. After a couple of years, I started doing some triathlons, some running, cross-country skiing. After a couple of years of that, I was kind of up for doing something new. And then it was a friend of mine that I spoke to, and she just started CrossFit and said that she just loved it and she wanted me to try it, and she thought that I would be really good at it. So I gave it a try. I went to CrossFit Oslo in March 2012, and I was just hooked right away.
Yeah, you got the CrossFit bug, so to speak.
I did. Yeah. And I just love that you can actually do gymnastics, strength, weightlifting, and endurance, and you can do it all at the same time.
Yeah, it is true. Yeah. But so you were saying that you were doing like endurance sports and so on, like before that. Was that just on amateur level, so to speak? You did that just to keep fit? So yeah. Did you have a job, or?
I studied nutrition at the university. So it was just because most of my friends did endurance sports. So to be able to hang out with them, I also joined that. And then because when I had my stress fractures, I wasn't able to run for about 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And you know how it is when there's something you can't do.
Yeah.
The only thing you want to do is that thing.
Yes, I can imagine that. Yeah, absolutely.
So I just couldn't wait to get back into running. I didn't really love running before this, but now that was the only thing I wanted to do. And now that my injuries has healed, I was up for running, and I just loved it, and I spent a lot of time doing that for a few years.
So it's amazing. It's an amazing combination to study nutrition and then being a CrossFit athlete. No?
Yeah, it's a good combination to have. Yeah, sure.
Have you ever done an internship, Kristin?
I have not.
No? Okay. I want to get back to the winning part, because you said something really interesting, because you're an amazing athlete. You've been competing in 6 different CrossFit Games, which basically is the world championships of all the fittest women on earth. And you placed second at best. How does that feel when you're like this close from being the number one?
To be honest, it feels great, because I know that I gave my absolute best effort in every single event that year, and there was still someone who was better than me, and so she really deserved to win. And the girl that won that year has won 6 times in a row now, so she's just from a different planet. She's amazing. She's such a great athlete, and I'm just happy to have been able to compete with her, because she set the standard for everyone else, and she's shown all of us what is possible. And for me, I was just super happy that my full effort was good enough to be on the podium.
You know what? It's such a great attitude, to have. And at least from the outside, I feel and I perceive that the CrossFit community is so supportive. Like you guys like cheer each other. I mean, I don't know if everyone is like that, but like just hearing you right now, I'm like, wow, like you don't see that a lot in other sports.
No, I think CrossFit is different in a lot of ways, and especially that way. And it's one of the things is that we don't really compete against each other. We're in it together, and I think everyone wants everyone to succeed and to do their absolute best. We just want to I just want to be better still, but I don't want to be better because someone screwed up or missed a lift or wasn't able or got injured or wasn't able to do their absolute best. And I hope and think everyone feels that way.
No, it's an amazing life attitude, to have. Our audience are young, and many deal with body image issues. They might be thinking that they're too large, too slim. And looking at CrossFit athletes, you don't typically have like the typical woman body. Like, have you ever felt like, oh, I'm too large, I'm too slim, or I'm this and that? And if so, how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I've been through a lot of different feelings when it comes to body image. When I did pole vault, I kind of felt that I was too big. So I spent a lot of time not eating enough, and I got a lot of injuries. And that was definitely not good for me. So when I started CrossFit, it was just such a relief to see that it was more focused on having a healthy and strong body. And after a few years, I noticed that, okay, I need to eat a lot of food to be able to fuel myself to perform. So it was all about being able to eat enough, and almost trying to force feed myself so that I could get enough calories to get my body stronger, my muscles better, so they could lift more weights, and also so I could recover better. So that's a really good thing about CrossFit, that it's all about performance and not about look at all. It's all about how can I fuel my body so it could be as strong and healthy as possible, and that I can perform my absolute best in competition.
So yeah, you were talking about food. We had Annie Torisdottir on the show a few months ago, and she was talking about her breakfast: four fried eggs plus oatmeal plus protein shake. I'm like, oh, that's huge. That's huge. I would need to force myself to eat that, because my max is like 2 fried eggs. Yeah,
it's a lot of food. And the other thing is too, like, I in the beginning, well, it's been a few times that I've noticed that a lot of people are staring at me, and I'm like, what's wrong with me? Why are you staring at me? And then I notice is, oh, they look at my muscles, because it's usually when I'm outside and I'm in a singlet or like a shorts. And I'm like, why are they looking at me? I don't know why. They don't say anything. In America, they come up to me and like, wow, I love your muscles. But in Scandinavia, people don't do that. They just stare. And it's kind of creepy, because I'm like, do they like my muscles? Do they don't dislike my muscles? So it's been like some weird moments there where I'm like, ooh, I might just wear a t-shirt, because then they won't stare at my shoulder muscles. And I'm kind of I don't want to go outside and like wearing short sleeves because people are looking. But then eventually I'm like, I'm super proud of my muscles. I worked really hard for them, and I want to show them off.
100%.
Yeah, it just shows that I have a strong body that I worked really hard for, and now I'm proud of them, and I wear my singlet and shorts proudly, and I'm
Yeah, you should.
yeah.
You know, like it requires a lot of discipline, you know, to maintain that strength and that body, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think it's a good thing that it's okay for girls and women to be strong now. It's not all about the look anymore. It's about having a strong and healthy body, and I think CrossFit has been a huge part of that.
What would you like to say to young girls, young boys that are listening right now that have the body image issue? Might be that they feel like they're too big or too slim. Could be anything.
I think focus on what your body can do and not how it looks like, and try to be confident in your own skin. And I think that's easier if you focus on what your body actually can do and what you can do with the body that you have.
Have you ever lacked self-confidence? Because we spoke about that a little bit in the beginning, but you have to be super confident to go to the world championships, the CrossFit Games, like, and not think that you're gonna get injured or etc. Like, you need to feel really confident in yourself, you know. Have you ever felt that you lacked self-confidence?
Oh yeah, all the time. I still do. And it's weird because with experience, I've thought that, okay, I know that I'm good enough. I know that I belong here, but it's still really hard to believe that deep down that I am good enough. And I do belong to be amongst the top in the world. But I feel like I have to prove to myself that I am good enough over and over and over again. And I think it might be a good thing too, because I don't underestimate anyone and I don't take anything for granted. I know I have to work hard every single year to be able to qualify again for the CrossFit Games. And I think that's been a big part of how I've been able to go back 8 years in a row. It's just that I've never taken it for granted that I would qualify and that I'm good enough. But it's also like going into a competition, I do a lot of positive self-talk. There are always some negative thoughts and feelings coming in, but I worked a lot on just accepting that that's a part of the game. It will be some negative self-talk, but I can choose how much energy I want to spend on that negative self-talk. I can accept that I hear you. I'll deal with you later. But now I want to focus on the positive things and telling myself I'm strong, I got this, I can do this. I worked really hard for this, and now it's time to show off all my hard work.
Yeah, I think that's having self-doubt. I think it's pretty natural. Like, even me as an entrepreneur, like, I still feel like whenever I need to give a talk, public speak, or it could be on the jiu-jitsu mat some days, you know, like, you have that. I think it's natural.
I think it's
just
natural
that,
too. And I think it's good because it just means that what you do means something to you. You want to perform well.
100%. 100%.
And if you don't really care, it's like, well, it doesn't matter then. But you need to have that self-doubt and like feel nervous for it to really matter to you. And I think that can give you the extra energy to perform even better.
Kristin, I was curious. You're a nutritionist. In the CrossFit Games, are there any CrossFitters that are vegetarian or vegan?
I do believe there are some, yes.
Are you, or do you eat meat, or are you vegetarian, or?
I eat a lot of meat.
You eat a lot of meat, okay.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, so not vegetarian.
Okay, but you
I've
you
tried
believe there
it, but
are some.
I do know of some that have been vegetarian for periods of time. I don't know if they are now, but I know that it's definitely possible for sure. You just have to make sure you get in all the protein you need. And I think if you just make plans for it, it's probably as easy as eating meat. But for me, it's just, I love the meat, so I need that in my life.
I understand. Imagine if your 95-year-old self traveled back, came to you right now in Norway, what advice do you think she would give to you?
Be present, enjoy the small things in life, don't work too much, spend time with friends and family and the ones you love. And then remember, you only live once. So if there's something you want to do, then do it.
So I hear a lot, like, I mean, that all sound amazing, right, Kristin? And I hear that a lot, like be present, enjoy the small things. I just got a baby daughter who's 8 months now, so I hear it all the time from parents, like be present, like enjoy the small things, enjoy every day. But how do you go about enjoying the small things? Could you give like an example? What does that mean to you, for example?
I don't feel like I have time to do that. But that's just a bad excuse. So I'm thinking like, okay, if I can just sit down for at least 5 minutes, and maybe like now I live close by the water, just sit outside and watch the sun or the clear sky or the birds flying, and just like being present without sitting on my phone and watching TV, or just sitting outside having a conversation with some of my family or my boyfriend, without being distracted, just being in the moment. For me, things like that is what I should probably do more of, because it's a stressful, it's every day is really stressful for me. So I think just having a timeout every day, it could be, for me, it can also be just go out and run for 30 to 45 minutes, run for as fast as I can, just let the thoughts roll. I can do like, think about what I feel like and just go with the flow. And for me, that's kind of meditation. And I think finding something that can give you a little time out every day, for me at least, that's being in the moment and being present.
You said that every day is really stressful for you. What makes it stressful, Kristin? Is it because you have to be training, double sessions maybe, and then you have to be cooking? I mean, you have the cleaning, the everyday life, plus like private life, or what is it that makes it stressful?
Yeah, I wish it was that. That was my life a few months ago. But since I retired in January from CrossFit, it's been a lot of work. It's because it's like I went from this being an athlete, then your job is actually to relax a lot of the time. So I had to force myself to lay on the couch watching Friends and just not doing anything. But now I cannot justify doing that, because that's not a part of my job. I have a lot of things, a lot of different projects, and I feel like the more I do, the better my business is going, so there's no stopping. And for me, I'm that person that it's all or nothing. So I go all in whenever I do something, and I'm having a hard time saying no. So it tends to be a little bit too much, and that's just how it's stressful. I have too much stuff going on and haven't really been able to find the best schedule for me in this new life, but I'm working on it. I'm trying to adjust to this new life that I've started post CrossFit competitions.
Very exciting. What is your biggest priority right now when it comes to your business, and what business is it, Kristin?
So I've started something called Krieger training with my coach. So it's basically it's based on my training program that I did the past couple of years that I competed, and we put that out there online for people to follow. So we're trying to help as many athletes as possible to reach their potential. And I feel like there's just so much I want to share with everyone. So I have so many ideas on how we can help athletes and how we can improve our program and stuff like that. And that's just how I want to, that's how I worked as an athlete too. Like I try to find, I try to improve on the small details, and that's how I am now too, like trying to find the small details that can make everything a little bit better, and figuring out how we can make a good package as possible for the athletes.
Of course, like growing a company is such an amazing feeling, Kristin. There's always small details that you can improve on. Like I have this philosophy that you don't have to grow 100% from 1 week or 1 year to another, but if you improve just 1% each day, that's great. That's all you can do, you know. That's at least you're better than yesterday as a company and as a person. So.
But I love that. I used that when I was an athlete, 1% better every day. And
okay, amazing.
Yeah, and that's all in the small details.
Of course.
And that's how I'm thinking now too. It's just so many details that I can't keep up. It's too much.
Yes.
I'm trying to work my way around it, and eventually it will be good.
Kristin, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Where can people find more about you online, and where can they find more about your company and what you guys do exactly?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram with Holte Kristin, and we also have Krieger Training on Instagram. Follow that. And also kriegertraining.com. You can find all the info if you want to join our program.
Amazing. Thank you for that. We'll make sure to link for everyone listening so you guys can check it out in the show notes. Okay. Kristin, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show. I've learned a lot. I'm sure our listeners learned a lot too. You're a real champ.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
A lot of gratitude for listening to Fika with Rice. I really mean that. If you like the show, I would love if you can leave us a 5-star review, whatever you're listening to your podcast. It helps us so much to get the word out there to other listeners. If you have any questions or any feedback, I would love to hear from you. I'm just a DM away on Instagram or TikTok at Fredrik van Huynh. So looking forward to hearing from you guys. Thank you so much. Let's go!